different location. Yeah. Also, I've noticed every single time I make one of these lives, I think I just mess up with the settings, because every time it posts and it finishes downloading, I always then realise there must have been something I should have pressed beforehand, and I never do. So every time I go on to them, it says it's not been made public because I did a setting wrong or something. But I always sort it out after, so... I was gonna say, I wonder if that's the reason why I don't really get any views on these, but I had it on the same setting last time and someone did actually watch it, so I don't know. Is it possible for me to like my own thing? I don't think so. Yeah. Also, my hair's been cut, as you can see. So I look better now, and not just literally there, where it's sticking out loads, and then on the top, it's like I was wearing a helmet. But yeah, I've just been so bored today, I thought I would just come on and do a live. And yeah, give you an update of stuff. And there's not really much to say, but I have been looking at more cars again. And I have been thinking, because, well, sorry, I need to look at you. I shouldn't. I don't like doing that, but yeah, right, let's look over here. No. I have been looking at cars for sale, like Toyotas, but Aigos are stupidly expensive. Even like a 2010 one, because I think, well, I just prefer to drive auto as well, just to find it easier. And they're very popular, and I think that shows in the price. Also, with it being an auto cars are more expensive than manuals, it just is the way it is. But literally, for one that's even done like 90,000 miles and is auto, it's still like 3,000 at least, sometimes like 3,500. It's like, for a car which is the size of a shoebox, no offence, and has no luxuries inside, and technically my top spec Yaris from 2003 probably had more stuff in it than a 2010 Toyota Aygo, which, well, even that is kind of a luxury based price for someone like me who's first starting to drive and has a bit of money, but nowhere near that kind of money just to splash out on a car. But yeah, I mean, it's insane, really, because all the other ones I've had a look at are just basically like an old Yaris from like 2005. But Toyotas are good. But I was watching a video of Auto Alex, and it was quite an old video from like 3 months ago, where he bought this Honda Civic and it was absolutely destroyed underneath. It was rusty as hell, and literally when I got my car MOT'd and had a look under it, and yeah, the first time I had a proper good look under it, because I just wanted to buy a car. I kind of avoided all the red flags and didn't really think how dangerous that was until things were starting to go wrong with the car. Mostly rust, bits of it were quite scabby, but the handbrake was shocking. I mean, it was basically non-existent, so had to get that sorted. Because I mean, every time I put the car in park and put the handbrake on, I was just thinking to myself, this is an absolute waste of time even doing that, because literally wouldn't have done anything. But then apparently my granddad did have it on a hill. Well, I say a hill, it was like that. It was barely even a hill, it's just a slight raise in the road, basically. And he said he had it in like neutral and then had the handbrake on, and it didn't roll backwards, so it didn't roll back into a wall, so that's all good. So maybe it just got worse over time. But you know those times, I mean, it might just be me being stupid, but when you drive off and then you forget that your handbrake is still up. I've done that more than once. But then that just goes to show, like, if there's no bite, I mean, if it feels like the car is not even trying, then that's another thing, because it needs to bite at least to basically say that obviously here, there's something not quite working here. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing. But anyway, so, yeah, and if I want to go into anything like Audi and BMW, which I don't, because you'd be paying stupid money for obvious reasons with cars like that. Another Yaris, even the same kind of one. I don't know, it's just because it was like my first car, I suppose. Everyone's first car is basically their favourite car, even if it is kind of a hoopty. But all I will say is having one that's in good condition, even being kept in a garage, which is kind of unlikely for a car like that. No one's really going to think to put it in a garage, are they? Which, there's nothing wrong in even keeping a car like that in a garage. I mean, you're basically just adding to its lifetime, so if anything, it's actually a really good thing to do. Because I had the 1.3 top spec one, so I was kind of, well, not really lucky anymore, but at the time when I experienced it and enjoyed it at the time, you know, have a drink, bear with me. Um, I'll always post this after, so even though no one actually watches them live, people do actually watch them after they've been live. So for all those people who decide to do that, very appreciative. That it just seems every time I do it on a live, no one watches them. But that's fine, it's not like it's the end of the world. But yeah, yeah. I mean, if you get a good one, like I said, they drive fine. They're pretty decent on fuel for the age of the car. Obviously, the 1 litre is going to be a bit better. And even the 1.3 is nippier, but obviously it's not fast. I mean, technically speaking, now, my dad's hybrid Yaris is just about as fast, if not faster, than the full-blown sporty one of the time, back in 2003. Because I think when it first came out in 1999, I think it was only until like 2000 or 2001 where they actually brought out the T-Sport. But now they just call it GR, don't they? So yeah, and the GR, well, GR at the time, I just prefer to say it like that. Was, yeah, about 105 horsepower or something. And yeah, still nippy, still sounded pretty good. That's the only problem with cars now. They're making them faster, but the sound is either completely fake or it's just toned down to everything with all the filters and stuff that they put in the exhaust now to make them green, or as green as they can, without just sticking an electric engine in. Even though to create a car like a Tesla, still made in a factory, pumping out loads of stuff, but obviously, you know, and the stuff for the batteries as well. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I obviously do prefer petrol cars, but after seeing other electric cars now, and even other brands, I'm probably going to get slated for saying this, but there's an Ioniq 6, like an SUV type kind of car, but it's not really. It's kind of like a hunched up, hired hatchback car, basically. But it's fucking hilarious because they've basically made it so it makes like fake engine noise, but like completely fake because the actual car is electric, completely through and through. But I just find it funny. You can obviously turn it off, and I think within 5 minutes of you like flooring it and then slowing down, flooring it and slowing down just to hear it. Yeah, it is a massive gimmick, obviously, but it is funny. Something to show your friends, and the car is pretty quick. I think it's got like 650 horsepower, so yeah. 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds, maybe even quicker. It's probably very doable in that. But yeah, that's probably the only electric car I would think of buying. And probably going to get hated for saying that as well. But, I don't know, it looks cool. I can't put my finger on exactly what I like about it, because there's a lot going on. Just like with quite a lot of cars these days, there's just so much going on. Half the time you can't actually pinpoint why exactly it is that you like it, you just kind of like it. But yeah, I am still, before you guys get too worried about me and think that I need to go and get my head checked out, I do obviously still like old cars, like old Mustangs, and sometimes even old fucking Vauxhalls like the Nova, the old Mini, from an old Ford Fiesta. That was quite a cute little car, and obviously an old Yaris. Maybe because it was my first car. I mean, it's funny, because I remember saying, oh, they're quite ugly, those cars. Not even thinking that at some point I might actually just end up getting one as a first car, because it was very much in my price at the time. Still overpriced for what it was, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, as I've been told by a few people, it's not a complete waste of money, even though it technically was, because, well, the car lasted me about just under a year, like 10 months. And yeah, kind of went spectacularly. And I might as well go into detail for the people who haven't heard. But yeah, I went for its MOT. The underneath was completely rotten, and the handbrake cable was apparently hanging down, and the brake lines. This is where it gets scary. Yeah, they did a braking check on it, and yeah, apparently during that test, the brake pipe literally went and bursted. Now, we find that not terrifying, because it's very lucky that it happened on its MOT rather than happened while I was driving. And I feel like, because obviously when they do these things, they probably do it from like 70 miles an hour and from a few other speeds as well. But rather than gradually slow down, they would just slam the brakes on. Because obviously they need to test it if it's good in an emergency, like an emergency stop. But obviously, most of the time when I was driving it, obviously I was driving like a learner does. And obviously I was going slow, I wasn't pushing the car, obviously, because I didn't even know my own limits, or even the car's limit, so me driving fast would just be a stupid thing to do. But yeah, I did accelerate quite hard a few times, but never was trying to like push it around the corner and be stupid with it like that, because it's, you know, obviously when you're learning to drive, that's not what you want to be doing, because you don't really know, well, the clue's in the name, you're learning how skillful you are technically, and also how skillful the car is, which obviously it wasn't, because even the levels I was going around some corners, I could just feel the car washing wide, and I was like, okay, time to let off a little bit, because obviously when you're driving around a corner too quick, the last thing you want to do is give it a load of braking, because it's just going to completely unbalance the car, and it's just going to spin. Or if you're lucky, it's just going to step out of it, and you're going to be able to regain control and put it back into a straight line. Otherwise, yeah, you're screwed. But yeah, I mean, but it was a good car for what it was, even though it had a very dodgy underneath and brake pipe bursted. That's obviously something that you don't want to hear when you've literally just driven it there. And I mean, yeah, it still gives me goosebumps even thinking about that now. I mean, I literally could have been driving the car at that point, and then the brake pipes just decided to say, yeah, goodbye, we're not going to work anymore, and just go, and then my brake pedal would have just gone straight to the floor, and it wouldn't have even slowed down at all. It's like kind of when you're on a push bike, and you've got like those old style wire brakes, And then if that was to go like ping off or something, and then you just try and brake, it would be like that. You would just go straight into a tree or a car or off a cliff. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be very fun. But literally, yeah, it's scary. Very scary. So, I mean, obviously, the car, it was just really badly looked after. Like, really badly. The person who had it before me probably treated it even worse than I did. That's because, well, where we lived at the time and even now. But I mean, it was especially bad, I think, because it was kind of parked in a square. Well, that's what we called it anyway. With like old style garages around it, which a few people actually used them. I didn't even know anyone did. But yeah, it was half the time in the winter months, that area would just get so damp. It was, well, yeah, kind of bad leaving the car there, but yeah, there's not really anywhere else I could have really put it. So it was kind of had to be put there. And yeah, it just got worse and worse over time. I mean, it had a little bit of a scabby bit next to the exhaust. And but literally this just goes to show, like, rust can get very bad, even in a year. And yeah, when I first bought the car, it was like 3 little specks of bubbling, and I was looking at that and I was like, it's fine. But then, coming towards the end of the car's life, or I didn't know at the time, but it was. And yeah, it literally got to the point where it actually had a little hole in it at the end. And then, well, yeah, because I was driving once on a driving lesson, test, whatever you want to class it as. And yeah, my strut was literally, well, that's what it was, but we didn't know what it was at the time. We could hear like a banging noise, and obviously we found out it was the strut. And I think it was supposed to have like some like liquid in there to lubricate it, but no, it was like completely dry, and it was just. But yeah, I mean, half the time you could see a bump in the road, and you're like bracing yourself, like, oh, this is gonna be a loud knock. But then it didn't always do it. But then other times when the road was basically completely smooth, you could just hear it going do. So obviously it was picking up on bumps, which I couldn't really feel. But yeah, I mean, wow. Because obviously with a car, it's not just the suspension, it's got like a thingy to kind of like... But then that's when you know if that's gone as well, because if you're bouncing up and down on the car, if it keeps on bouncing for ages after and doesn't settle, then yeah, imagine driving a car like that down the road and after hitting a bump, and then it just carries on going do. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. But yeah. So yeah, I'm obviously back on the hunt, car hunting again, and hopefully we'll... Sorry, I'm pacing backwards and forwards, I always do that. Got another message, you would have heard that, wouldn't you? Yeah, I've been live for 18 minutes. But yeah, I think that's the longest one I've ever done. Probably the most boring one as well, but hey, I'm still going to post it just for an update on anyone who's interested in my car stuff. I know Ryan probably is, but I kind of already tell him this sort of stuff anyway. But anyway, yeah, I'm still car hunting, and I'm hoping that this year I'll get myself another car and get myself some lessons back, because I'm in basically a year at this point without being behind the wheel, and hopefully I won't get rusty, no pun intended, but literally, I probably will have, because obviously I'll know how to make the car go forwards, but like that whole confidence that I probably built up for quite a while has probably just gone back down to zero again. So obviously I'll need to basically do baby steps again, which is annoying because I got quite far. Now I'm feeling like I'm going to have to go back down to level 1 again, which is basically just maybe just driving around the industrial estate again. Driving around the industrial estate, which is only like 20s, 30s, and a little bit of it, technically outside of it, is a 40. But I think that's like the fastest. I quite like driving around there, as sad as that sounds. But yeah, it's... Whoa, why is it doing that? Sorry guys, if you're thinking that you're tripping out, because you're not. Well, unless we both are, but yeah, that looks trippy as hell, doesn't it? Must be the connection here isn't as good as it is at home. But yeah, anyway. No guys, you haven't been taking drugs. Unless we both have. We've both seen it. But wow, yeah, that looked trippy as hell. Yeah, I think it's stopped now. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'm going to have to basically just go back down to that again, build up my confidence, and go from there. Which is a bit annoying, but hey ho. It's best to just slowly get yourself back into it rather than just chuck yourself straight onto like a busy road with loads of busy roundabouts and loads of busy junctions and busy and fast junctions, my god. But yeah, I did used to miss every time I used to drive to work at like 5 o'clock in the morning with my dad, obviously, sat next to me. And especially on like a Sunday or something when the motorway was empty, well, dual carriageway, not motorway. And literally the only things that were on the road were just lorries. So every now and then you would basically just be sitting behind a lorry if you wanted to. Move over and overtake it, if not, well, unless you want to get loads of stone chips, probably overtake it. I mean, I know my car was covered in them anyway, so it's just kind of adding to the design. But yeah, I loved it, to be fair. Half the time I actually found myself getting slowed up by other people rather than them slowing me down. And I was just thinking, wow, this person's probably been driving for like 10 years. Been driving on this road probably also way more times than just this time. It's not even that. I mean, the particular road I was driving on was straight. The corners you could see from miles away that you could probably take that corner at 50 miles an hour, even at, okay, maybe that's a bit much, but at least 40 even in a car like mine. Even before I had the tyres changed. And yeah, that's another annoying thing. But we're not going to talk about annoying things, so I'm just going to piss myself off. Well, let's just say there's a few things added to that car which weren't cheap, but I'm also very glad I chose a cheaper battery for my car, because that could have been an even bigger loss again. But yeah, I think my battery was about 35 quid, ranging all the way from like 70 all the way up to 100, but I think that would just be insane. A battery is a battery. If you drive the car enough and don't just sit in the car with the engine running and don't go anywhere, because then you're just going to still flatten the life of the battery. I think if you have the engine on, it helps a tiny bit, but I don't actually think it does, to be honest, because unless the thing is actually being, well, unless you're actually just driving the flaming car, then it isn't going to charge. The battery, whatever. There's loads of stuff that I probably still need to learn about cars, so probably getting half of this wrong, but yeah, you do actually have to drive the car for quite a bit, because I remember once I was quite low on fuel, and this is back when I still had my dodgy battery, so sometimes I'd get up to the car after doing a stupid the day before and just sitting in my car with the radio on, so it was kind of like a gamble. I don't know why sometimes I acted surprised when I went to do a driving test the next day, tried to turn the car on, and yeah, I was just making that horrible did noise, basically say your battery's dead. But yeah, it's annoying. But yeah, where we live now, we do have a wee bit of a driveway, so I mean I can park the car basically in front or behind my dad's, preferably behind because he'll use this more than me. And my driving lessons to work will be so short these days, I think my dad will just probably take me, because it will literally just be a drive from where we are, down the hill, round the bend, round a few more bends, round the corner, and then at work. So it wouldn't really be... I mean, where I live, the roads are kind of a maze, so maybe it would actually be a good test. Have your eyes everywhere, But like, half the time, even when I'm trying to cross the road, I need to remember I need to look in like 15 different places, because like, the road system is wacky. And I think if it's your first time driving through, it is very odd, to be fair. And it's been like that for years, because if you go back in time on Google Earth, it's looked like that basically forever. So it is very easy when you get your head around it. But yeah, just one of those things. But yeah. But I did I don't know if any of you guys are living anywhere near where I live, but there's this place called Denbigh, and then there's like the Moors, and I've driven through both basically, Denbigh and the Moors. And the Moors are very nice to drive through, because literally just barely really anyone else ventures up there, to be fair. And it's quite funny because all the people who do have like big massive 4x4s, and it's just me driving in a 2003 Toyota Yaris, which is front wheel drive, and absolutely no off-road capabilities in it at all. It's like trying to go off-road in a pair of blooming sandals or Crocs. It's just, yeah. But yeah, it was funny. And then driven off the beaten track onto an even more beat up track. But it was worth it to just get out and have a wee in nature. I'm not gonna hide it. That's literally what I did. And yeah, literally park up, enjoy the view, have the sunroof open, enjoy what was off at the sun at the time, because I think it was in April, so it wasn't megally sunny, but it wasn't bad. And yeah, I was actually driving behind a 60s Mini, which is quite nice, because I was thinking if that car is stock, my car is probably faster than that thing. Because from standard, they just have about 40 horsepower, some of them. I think the sporty one had a bit more, like 80 maybe, but literally that sounds like nothing, but the weight of them is just nothing. It weighs about as much as a shoebox. So even 100 horsepower in that would make it fly. It would just obviously be top end, where it will still show that it doesn't actually have that much horsepower. But yeah, I've seen people put 300 horsepower in them, and it's like, that is a literal death trap. I hope you realise that. But yeah. Anyway, I've run out of things to say, and yeah, I'm going to leave you here, and goodbye.